Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Imalala. How are you? Hello, Nathaniel.
Hey,
So we're just waiting a few more minutes to have everyone on board, and then we will begin the meeting.
perfect.
Thank you.
Hello.
So it looks like we have just about everyone on board. And I'm just waiting to see if I need to admit anyone else before we begin. Okay, looks like we can start, and anyone else coming through would be admitted by IT or NE. It's great to see you all. Hi, Janelle. Hi. So it gives me an immense pleasure to say welcome you all to the African diaspora community at this difficult time in our journey. It is not easy with COVID-19. I would like to extend a very warm African greetings in Swahili. Nijoni pamoja. Come with love to our young guests who are the future leaders. As they speak directly to the youth in a brotherly youth-to-youth conversation, FUBU for us, by us. The theme of this discussion is extremely compelling, bridge over troubled waters. The echoes of the unknown as we face a COVID-19 pandemic that distributionally affects our community. This is well thought out theme, speaks to the troubled waters of our time, and the need to look at history as an essential tool to understand our current situation and to collectively focus on the survivor of the Africa diaspora. This event is part of the Africa diaspora COVID-19 community response, organized by Niti Wiakani and the Now Valley Foundation in collaboration with community organizations, students, members of the academic community. We have the Africa Center, who's also part of this program. We have the Liberian community, the Sierra Leonean Association, the Trebi Kume Oloni Foundation and Community Development, the Family Advancement Association, the South Sudan Association of Edmonton, the Sickle Cell Foundation of Alberta, the Black Students Association of University of Alberta, Fuse In Organization, the Jamaican Association of Nursing Alberta, Zimbabwe Association of Edmonton. So these are all organizations who came together to make up a major part of this program today. So at this time, I will invite Stephanie Burleigh to sing the song theme, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I will give Stephanie a minute to introduce herself. I love when people do that themselves because I might say something that really don't describe that person for who he or she is. So if Stephanie is online, I'm just gonna scroll down here and see. It doesn't look like she has signed in. Give me 1 second, please, as I scroll down here to find Stephanie. If Stephanie is connected, can you please raise her hand? There's a raise her hand bar at the bottom. Okay, that's a major opening song for this program. So assuming we should give Stephanie 2 more minutes to come forward. In the meantime, I'm just gonna have her background song playing here while we wait on Stephanie. 7:04. Okay, Stephanie is here. She's in the waiting room. There we go. Hello, hello, welcome, Stephanie. Stephanie, you might be muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Hello, lady.
So, you just missed slightly the introduction, but you came right in time for your introduction as I called you on. So as mentioned before, Stephanie will lead us into this program by singing Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I will give Stephanie a few minutes to introduce herself to our audience and just let us all know who she is, her background, and where she's from, and why Bridge Over Troubled Water is such an important theme song to this program. Welcome, Stephanie.
Wonderful. Thank you, my dear. So first, I'd like to say my name is Stephanie Burleigh, and it is a pleasure to be a part of this this Zoom and this event, this platform tonight. My story here in Edmonton, Alberta, is that I came to this country, to Canada, as a young child from the United States, from Sacramento, California. My mother, Mary Burleigh, who became a community activist and a voice for the marginalized in this city during the early 70s and right through to 1991 when she passed away, really shaped my life and my heritage coming from the United States, and really, you know, just embracing that African-American culture. And when we came here, we connected to early settlers who also came here from the United States during the turn of the century. So we found a family there. When we originally got here in the 70s, there were very few Blacks at that time here in this city. And in fact, we did not have the luxury of having our brothers and sisters alongside of us from the diaspora. We really were here alone. And we used to laugh and joke if we seen Black people, we'd run home and tell our parents, Mom, there was another Black girl on the bus today, or we seen a Black family, because it was such a rare thing. So we've come so far. Bridge Over Troubled Waters is a song that taps into the African-American struggle and into social justice, and to, for me, you know, some of the things that, you know, that are dear and near to us all. Aretha Franklin sang that song, and she, you know, did that song so much justice. So when Nee told me that that was going to be the theme of the night, I thought, wow, okay, I think I can do that song some justice. As we know, the diaspora, we're at a very critical time in our history. For me, my background is social work. I kind of followed my mother's footsteps in some regards, as that I went into social work, and I've really found my heart and my life's work in the inner city, working with Indigenous populations, with populations that are just really marginalized due to poverty, systemic racism, mental health, addictions, all of these things. So, oddly enough, I've sang Bridge Over Troubled Waters at many social justice um, events, such as the Homeless Connections, just many different things that have happened in the city. I've lent my voice over the years. So I don't know, that I think that that's a bit about myself. We have much work to do here. Now that we're all here, our brothers and sisters from the continent, from the islands, from the Western world, we're all here now. And I think it's very important that we begin to stop seeing ourselves as African American, as Nigerian, as Guyanese, as South African, as Jamaican. I think we really need to start to see ourselves as the diaspora, and really build alliances with each other so that we can really have an impact, not only what happens here politically, but also what happens in Africa. We can make a change. We have a voice, and I know that I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm very passionate about that diaspora, raising a collective voice and becoming more political about what is happening here and abroad on issues that we all face. And I'm thinking of Nigeria today, as I'm sure many of us have heard lots about what's happening there. And so we all need to be mindful that we are really one. God has brought us together out of all of the chaos again together, and not just to build a hut for ourselves, not just to put a roof over our head and to establish ourselves here, but to really be collective in what we are doing abroad and politically. We have got to become more sophisticated. So that's my part. And I'm happy to be here to sing Bridge Over Troubled Waters. So shall I begin? Am I rambling on?
You're doing excellent, Stephanie. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
And sing. Thank you so
my
much.
dear. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, and when times get hard and friends are hard to find, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay thee down. When you're down and out, oh yes, when you're out there on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, and when darkness falls, yes, and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay thee down. Oh, yes, I will. Sail on, silver bird. Sail on by. Your time has come to pass. All your dreams are on the way. Oh, yes, they are. See how they shine. And if you ever need a friend, I'm sailing right behind like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay thee down. Have you ever heard them say, don't trouble the waters? I said I won't. No, why don't you let them be? Oh, still waters run deep. Yes, they do. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that was amazing. I will give you a round of applause. Thank you so much. That was heartfelt. My God, bridge over troubled waters. So for those of you who came in not at the beginning of the program, my name is Bridget Wilson. For introduction, I'm your host for tonight. I'm moderating the program. I have a background in social work and child and youth counseling, and I'm grateful to be here with you all tonight. Without wasting further time, we will pass the program over to our youth guest. They will each take turn to introduce themselves to us. Can let us know a little bit of your background and why is this program meaningful to you. And that is before we dive into our questions. And beginning with, I see Nathaniel Romance. Sorry, I just can't say your last name. Can you help me out with
problem. That? Yeah, totally. Nathaniel Romance Seneville.
Nathaniel Romance Seneville. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Can you please give us an introduction?
Yeah, my name, you've heard my name. I recently completed my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering at the U of A. So I'm very much more technologically focused, and that's kind of a lot more of what I know about these things. Let's go with that for now. Yeah, if that's okay.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
Not a problem. Thank you.
And our next guest, who will be introducing herself, Emanuela Osuji.
Hi, my name is Emanuela Osuji. I studied a bachelor's in physiotherapy at the University of Debrecen in Europe, Hungary, Europe, and I'm currently studying my master's in rehabilitation sciences at the U of A.
Thank you, Emanuela. And for our next guest, Janelle Graveson.
Hi. Yes, hi, my name is Janelle Gravesandi. I'm a PhD student at McMaster University in Ontario.
Thank you, Janelle. You're all welcome to today's program. So we'll move on to our questions, but just a little bit of housekeeping around that. We will be taking questions from the audience. They will drop questions in the general group chat. For those of you who are using cell phones, you might just have to click where it says more, click the chat button, and then drop your comment into our guest tonight. And after each question, that our guests have each answered, we will move into the general group chat. We will draw up a question from there and we'll throw that question back at you so that you can engage into a dialogue and acknowledge some of those participating here tonight with us. Without further ado, I will move to the first question, and starting with you, Janelle. So when speaking, can you kindly look directly into the camera so that our audience can have that at least eye-to-eye contact with you, to say the least. So on the issue of committing to health protocols and making sure that your family is safe, how to avoid crowded events and perhaps keeping healthy, how have you been able to do that so far?
Well, for me, I've been studying from home. So as a student, it's a little easier. I finish my coursework, so I don't have to go to classes. And even students who do, they have switched to Microsoft Teams. So all classes are online. So I basically just go out for like groceries, that kind of stuff. So for my case, it has been easy, but I know it's a bit challenging for people who work in certain industries where they have to go out, right? And in those cases, you kind of you take the precautions, wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, that kind of thing. Yes, I guess it depends on the situation, but for me, it has been a bit easier just because I'm able to work from home and do all my meetings through Zoom like we're doing tonight.
Thank you, Janelle. It's a great opportunity when we can have that privilege of working from home, but then you have your kids who also are they going to school or also homeschooling? Are your kids?
I don't have any kids.
Oh, sorry, I heard something in the line of kids over there. So I was like, how is she managing working from home and handling family life? No. My apology.
It's okay.
So we'll move over to our next guest, Emanuela. So can you tell me, how have you been committing to healthcare protocols and making sure that your family and community at large is keeping safe during this COVID-19 period?
Well, it's sort of the same for me. My family isn't here with me right now. My parents are back home with my siblings, and it's just me that is right here. And I am done with my coursework for my master's degree, so I just do my research from home, although I do volunteer on Fridays. So in that situation, when I leave the house, I'm always very careful with interacting with people, wash my hands, sanitize a lot, use masks when I'm around crowded spaces, which is really important. Basically, following all the healthcare guidelines that have been placed by the government to keep us safe. And with my degree as a physiotherapy student and my mom being a nurse, I do have a little bit of something precautionary that I do for my personal safety. So.
Thank you, Manuela. Nathaniel, how would you say you're committing to the healthcare protocols and keeping yourself safe, your environment safe, and your family safe?
Like everyone else here, it seems, my family is all over the place in Canada. I have a lot of family in Quebec. I have my mother's back home in BC, my brother's in BC somewhere else. And so in the way of being so far away, I make sure to call them and contact them regularly and maybe schedule a time to do something with them. Me and my brother, we play games. We try and play games weekly. But just, even if you're far away, don't stop that contact and don't stop doing things together, because your community, whether small, no matter how small it is what's going to help you get through this. So if you are lacking a community, if you're lacking those close family ties, there are many clubs, whether they're school clubs or otherwise, that have opened online spaces. So please look for those and find a community you can be a part of, that you feel a part of. And that's what I'd say is really helpful in doing so.
Thank you, Nathaniel. I like how you brought about looking for communities to keep connected to. at this point in time, we tend to lose connection and we don't realize how important that human connection is. So when we're missing that physical piece, we need the virtual connection. And sometimes people don't know really where to turn. I did not know where to turn, but hearing you say that now, it's important to know. So with that, we will now go to our chat room to see if there's any comments or questions that has popped up here for you guys. And to our audience, if you have any questions for our guest, please feel free to pop that up in the chat room and they will be more than happy to answer you. Someone said from the chat room, also make sure that you go outside to see the sun once a day. That is true, that is true. So moving on to our second question. I'm just going to make note that at the end of our second question, we will take a 5 minutes break. And in between that break time, we have a special video for you to watch. It is pandemic COVID-19 related. It is an awareness video. We will be bringing that up after our second question. So with that being said, starting with Imawela, what are the lessons learned from history regarding past pandemics?
Yeah, some of the lessons that have been learned from past pandemics is one of the big lessons is don't let your guard down. Don't think that because the situation is a little bit better, then you can just abandon all safety measures that have been put in place by the government to keep you safe. Using the Spanish flu of 1918 as an example, there were 2 waves of the pandemic then, and after the first wave, people let their guard down, and then the second wave came and 50 million people died at the end of the day, and that pandemic only lasted 2 years. So we should always be vigilant. We should always stay on guard with our health, keeping ourselves safe and keeping other people safe, and not be nonchalant about things concerning the health of people around us as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Imawela. Moving on to Nathaniel. What are the lessons learned from history regarding past pandemics? Can you share that knowledge with our audience tonight?
I can do my best. A lesson, I guess, that we learned from past pandemics, somewhat ironically here, is that the virus does not discriminate. It does not discriminate between race, between color, between your age. If you can be 50, 60, 70, or you can be 20 or 10 or 5, if you are one of the unlucky people who get sick and either has already a condition, or if that's somebody in your family, you getting COVID will not just hurt you, but hurt them as well. There are people out there who do have pre-existing conditions that they don't tell you about because it's not important, or you might have one, you don't know it yet. So please keep in mind that you are not keeping yourself safe. You're not making a sacrifice just for yourself and just for your health, but for the health of people around you and the people you care for.
Thank you, Nathaniel. And moving on to Janelle. Janelle, what are the lessons learned from history regarding pandemics in general?
I want to echo a little bit of what both of the guests have said in terms of not letting your guard down. And we really don't, we want to protect ourselves from the pandemic, but we also want to protect others and the healthcare system, right? We have to also remember that in these times, we have other conditions that were around before COVID. So the more we can prevent and slow down the spread of COVID, the less people who are going to be in hospital, the less people needing ventilators. right? So we have to be mindful of the bigger picture, right? It's not just ourselves, our family and our friends, but it's our healthcare system, the community, the world at large, right? So the more we can do to slow down the spread of the disease, people all over the world are doing things to, you know, find the vaccine and all these things. But in the meantime, we still need to be vigilant and try our best with what is given to us by the government and the World Health Organization, to do our best to follow the protocols and slow down the spread of and prevent more people from dying, especially in low income communities. We're seeing that a lot of the, in Canada as well, a lot of the Black people are disproportionately affected by the disease as well. So we really want to do our part to slow down the spread of the disease.
Thank you, Janelle. You know, the fact that you echoed what Nathaniel and Emanuela has said, which lead me back to you, I would like to touch on that a bit, because this program centers around our Africa diaspora community in the history of pandemics. I'm hearing a common theme here. Nathaniel talked about, I'm sorry, I think it was Emanuela who mentioned that not letting our guards down, like and Nathaniel talked about the virus does not discriminate. How will you say that plays into our African community? Because we have a thing where we like to feel like, you know, our immune system are built a little tougher than others. Black people don't really get sick easily, and that is not our illness. How would you say such a stereotype play into how our young African diasporan community approach a situation like COVID-19?
Yeah, I do think that a lot of the stereotypes, and I think some of it is the media. At the beginning, back in March, a lot of it, people were saying that the virus doesn't do as well in warm climates, and then we realized that's not the case. So I think we have to kind of undo some of the stereotypes about the virus. And looking from history, it also happened. We had cases where in the past, the media was putting out one message, and then doctors and healthcare professionals were putting out another message, exactly. Right? And in our world, the media has a much larger voice, right? So I think we have to not only put out the right message, but also challenge people who are putting out the wrong message, because anything you put out there, you don't know how many people that's reaching, and it's always much harder to undo bad messaging than it is to just, you know, to correct or to say the right thing in the beginning. So I think it really is just, you know, getting the right messages out there, kind of dispelling the myths about Black people we're sort of the same when it comes to anyone's. It doesn't really matter what your race or ethnicity is when it comes to the virus doesn't care. So just kind of putting that message out there and making sure people know that anyone can be, doesn't matter if you're healthy, if you have no pre-existing conditions, anyone is susceptible to the virus.
Thank you so much, Janelle. You answered that excellently. So we'll just move into our general chat room here and see if there is any one group of person that have posted any comments. Gerald Matt, sorry if I mispronounced your last name there. I believe there's a question we will take from Jared. Among young people, how can they take the epidemic serious or be well educated with the situation? Chanel, I believe that you have answered most of that, but can you touch on that a little bit and then go in after Janelle, Emanuela, and Nathaniel, please?
Yeah. Well, there are many ways for us to stay up to date with the virus, right? So within Canada, every day we have updates. So depending on what province you live in, if you follow the local news, Twitter is also a very good place to get concise information and up-to-date information every day. So I would just say to follow your local news, follow Twitter if you use Twitter, any sort of social media that you use, any way to connect with friends, you can find information on there as well. And I just try to look for reputable sources. So World Health Organization, your local public health authorities in your city or your province, those are also really good. So just keep up to date with what's happening on a daily basis.
Thank you. Emanuela, would you mind touching on that question a little bit? If you need me to reread the question, I can more than happily do that for you.
Oh, no, I'm good. Following what Janelle said, I was going to touch on the WHO giving great information about the virus, and the UN is another place you can go to get up-to-date information about the disease, what has been done so far, what they intend on doing. I've read through most of the articles, and they keep you up to date on any changes that have been made, as well as vaccine progress. So that's another good place to check. The Government of Canada website also gives great information on the viruses as well as the numbers per province every day or every week. So you could also keep to date on the progress of the provinces as well.
Thank you, Manuela. And now to you, Nathaniel. Do you mind elaborating on that question a bit more?
I can do my best. I'll struggle a bit through it though. I want to try and talk about the idea of having young people, having the youth take the pandemic seriously, which is a fairly hard thing to do when you're young and you essentially think you're invincible and you haven't really gone through anything that has made you question that yet. To take the pandemic seriously, I would say would be to look at history. This isn't, you have to open a history book. You don't have to look up articles. Documentaries about past pandemics, past epidemics would be a good place to start that are still interesting or still entertaining. Looking at those things and seeing what happened there will kind of lead down a rabbit hole that'll help you understand or question what's happening now and get a better idea for it. So yeah, looking at history in one way or another will help you get context into how serious these things can be, at least for youth anyways.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. So at this time, we will take 5 to 10 minutes based upon how long the video is, but I'm assuming it's just like 2 minutes from what I've seen. We'll take 5 minutes break to go through our COVID awareness video. I will go ahead and share my screen and you will be able to see the video from your end. Okay, if you can see my screen, I will encourage one of our guests to say yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. My apology about the brief.
It's me again. You are probably tired by now of hearing me tell you, when you are going in and out of public places, sanitize or wash your hands, keep at least 2 meters away from others, and wear a face mask. Oh well. Today, I would like to add, you shouldn't just pick one or the other. For example, when you wear a face mask, you don't practice social distancing. Or when you practice social distancing, you don't wear a mask. Remember, it is important that you practice these measures together, for they complement one another, especially in public places. In addition, take note that the risk of getting COVID-19 is evolving daily and varies between and within communities. To stay healthy and to protect ourselves and others, we must be mindful of the ever-present risk of exposure to the virus. Some settings and situations increase such risk, such as the 3 C's. What are the 3 C's? Being in closed spaces with poor ventilation. Being in crowded places where a large number of people gather. Being in close contact where you can keep 2 meters away from others. Finally, just a reminder, be proactive, keep yourself safe, do your part.
So this video today aligned with our program. It was brought to you by Family Advancement Association, Pandemic in the Black Canadian Society, community, sorry. So moving forward, this brings us to our concluding question. So at the end of our concluding question, we will not be taking any more questions from the audience, we would just encourage you to expand a little bit more on this question to help us sum things up today. So the final question, beginning with Janelle, where do we go from here as we prepare for the second wave of COVID-19?
That's a very broad question.
I know, right? Sorry about that.
I think it's just doing what we're currently doing in terms of following the guidelines, keeping up to date with what's happening, what's new. Just because it's evolving rapidly, so things are changing literally day to day. So I think just keeping up to date, and I think it can be, you kind of get pandemic fatigue, where it's like, oh, we've been doing this for almost a year, it seems, right? So I think just trying not to get fatigued by the precautions, and just kind of not letting your guard down. And hopefully the stricter we are, the faster we can get it under control and go back to some sort of normalcy. But for the meanwhile, we kind of just have to just keep going and not get fatigued, and just keep following the guidelines as best we can and staying up to date with the latest information.
Thank you, Mel. So, Emanuela, as we know, there will be a second wave of this pandemic. So my question to you, very similar to Janelle, where do we go from here as we prepare for the second wave of COVID-19?
Wow, that's a very good question. But I think while we make sure that we're not relaxed about the safety measures that have been put in place, we should also try to, take care of ourselves, our mental health. People get stressed from being in quarantine for a long period of time, and try to create a small community around yourself. Try to call your family daily, try to be social with people, but social at a safe distance kind of thing. So create a family for yourself, create a community around yourself to help, as you also do things to help others. And, check up on your health, make sure you're fine, make sure your family is good. Take those safety precautions so that nobody close to you or around you gets sick, and keep up with the day-to-day news on how the COVID is going, and if there's anything else you need to do, just follow the rules.
Emanuela, you mentioned something very pivotal to this program. You talked about taking care of our mental health. That is so essential to every one of us in our general Africa diaspora community. What are some of the ways that you will suggest to young people? Because young people tend to think like they don't have any mental health issues because of how they see things. So what are some of the ways you would suggest to young people in our audience today about taking care of their mental health?
I've always suggested talking to someone. Make sure you don't box yourself in to say, oh, I'm African, I can't have mental health issues. It's not a thing. No, Black people always believe that is a thing. People have post-traumatic stress disorders and depression due to being worried about their loved ones getting sick, being worried about unemployment, being worried about their loved ones dying, losing family connections. It could be anything. So have someone you talk to about these problems, and just take time for yourself when you need it. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to you, Nathaniel, as we prepare for the second wave of COVID-19, where do we go from here? What would you say to that?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'd like to, going from here, from the present here into the future where we're fairly certain the second wave is coming and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to think that at least there are some certainties that we know that we have. And the big one is that the future isn't certain. We're not sure what's going to happen next. So what we can do now, the best thing we can do now is to prepare for the uncertain future. put resources away that you have now. Don't overspend. Don't do these things that you need to do. Don't do things that you might regret in the future. Essentially, think before you act. And do not only worry about yourself if you can afford the mental resources to do so. Worry about not just your family if they're away, but about the people around you as well, like physically around you. These will also be people who are important. Your physical community, no matter who they are, will be important to your well-being. So keep in mind to include them in part of your community, however you can, if you can do so. That's what I think. Yes.
Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of our program, and I would like to wrap up by saying that Africa diaspora community and anyone of African descent as well, we will know that we are a collective society, and parts of our strength comes from our community. So as we engage in these isolating times, I call it isolating times, we should remember to build more connection, build more support network, strengthen our support system, because we will be dependent heavily upon that. With that being said, I would like to give our special thanks to the director of the Nile Valley Foundation, Niti Werkani, and all of the African diaspora community that made this program a success tonight. And to our guests, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm sure we're taking home learning a lot from you today. We hope to see you guys in the future as we discuss the second wave of this pandemic and how to go forward. I will close by saying thanks to our audience who took upon their time to be here tonight and participate in this program. That concludes this section of our program tonight. Thank you all.